What am I doing with my life? Sometimes in life, you're just going about your day, could be at work, could be out with friends, could be relaxing on your computer or phone, business as usual, right? And then it just hits you. What am I doing with my life? What's going on? I'm feeling behind and I'm not where I need to be. This, my friends, is the quarter life crisis, and it's far too common for 20-somethings to face. Today, we're going to discuss its causes, how to find a path forward, as well as my own personal quarter life crises that I've personally faced. By the end of this video, I'm hoping you'll be able to reflect and realize that sometimes you just need to be lost and directionless, and that these challenges help you find a path forward. What if feeling lost in your 20s is exactly what you need? I am very happy I went through each of my quarter life crises because it led me to something different, a new friend, a new relationship, a new hobby, a new way to make money, a new job or career. Welcome to Why Learn Wednesday, the mediocre podcast series from that guy from Wisconsin. Let's get into it. So what is the quarter life crisis? Well, the quarter life crisis is that moment in your 20s where life stops feeling like a straight line. Like you've left the structure of school behind, maybe you've started working, dating, or living on your own, and suddenly the big questions hit. Am I on the right path? Am I behind? Did I make the wrong choices? It's a mix of uncertainty, comparison, and pressure that makes you question exactly who you are and what you're doing and where you're going. It is true that in your 20s, even small decisions can have big consequences, and that feeling has always scared me. I've always been a big believer in the butterfly effect, so naturally this made my quarter life crises pretty intense. When you leave school, a lot of that reinforcement of getting those good grades and being told whether or not you're doing a great job, it fades away, and you don't get that constant feedback, and you're forced to go find fulfillment in the real world. And now you're facing a brutal onset of the quarter life crisis. Now there are a lot of things that can trigger a quarter life crisis, and the tricky part is it usually sneaks up on you until it just hits you one day. I would say 4 main things usually did it for me. Number 1 would be your work and career. Maybe you got a job you thought you wanted, but it doesn't feel fulfilling. Or worse, you don't know what job you even want, and every day feels like you're just going through the motions. You're not fulfilled by work. Maybe you had expectations of where you'd be at by now, but you're just not there yet. Number 2 would be relationships. Relationships, or sometimes the lack of relationships, causes you to just stop and think and have a little crisis moment. Dating is a minefield. You're breaking up, you're swiping on apps, you're watching friends get engaged, wondering why you're not there yet. And friendships also change. Like people move away, they settle down, you've drifted apart from people that you've known for your entire life, and you want good friends, you want a relationship, but it feels impossible sometimes. That's brought on some of my crises as well. Then we have comparison culture. Social media seems to pour fuel on the fire. You scroll and see people in your age hitting milestones, getting new cars, promotions at work, weddings and kids, and you can't help but think, why am I not there yet? What am I doing wrong? And sometimes you just have kind of an identity and direction crisis. It's not even about external stuff. You just wake up and realize, I don't know who I am outside of school or work or other people's expectations. And the hardest part of this is it all hits at once. It's the collision of them, the career, relationships, comparisons, and identity that makes that quarter life crisis feel overwhelming. And sometimes, even if there is no obvious reason, sometimes you just feel off. Sometimes there is no explanation, and that's okay too. Sadly, there isn't just one quarter life crisis. In fact, I can think of many. I've been going through a quarter life crisis every few years throughout my 20s. I'm almost 29 now, and I had 3 that I can really think of that made a big impact on me. Most of them had to do with dating and my career and just my overall happiness. I remember one time I was 20 years old. I just got dumped by my long-term girlfriend, the one I thought I would marry at the time. And at the same time, I was completely directionless at school. I didn't really enjoy computer science. I was not doing very well grades-wise anymore. And I was just in the dumps, questioning if I was in the wrong field, thinking I'd never find someone again to date. It was just this classic moment when I thought the world was ending around me. But it didn't end, and I stumbled through. Then a few years later, I had another one. I had a crisis moment where I woke up one day. I realized at age 25 that the relationship I was in for 3 years was not working, and that I had to go and end it and get back on the dreaded dating market. I was not in an ideal situation at work at this time either, and I was just with a team that I wasn't really learning and growing with. So I took drastic action. I ended the relationship, I changed jobs and moved to a new city, but this didn't make the feeling any better. I mean, I changed everything around me. I was living the single life, making good money, completely on my own, but I was not extremely fulfilled. And I figured at this moment, if I'm not fulfilled now, I'm not sure I'll ever be. But I stumbled through it, kept trying things. Then a quarter life crisis moment hit again. And this was more recently when I realized I met the person that I was going to marry, but it required me to leave my life in America behind for a while. And I felt like quitting my job and going my own way could be a big mistake for my career and finances. And during these big decisions, it's really easy to get carried away and have these doubts. So the quarter life crisis hits hard and often, and it's normal. But like I've said before, we're idiots, but we're idiots that keep moving forward. And that's what I did. I was just kept moving forward. The quarter life crisis feels very hard, and it feels so heavy because it taps into that one fear that almost almost everyone has, which is the fear of feeling behind. You feel lost, and you think everyone around you has it figured out. Every time you scroll or you catch up with friends, it feels like there's this silent scoreboard of life and you're on the losing team. And the pressure to figure things out is just something that makes you feel like a failure. But here's the observation I've made. Even your friends who seemingly have things figured out, a lot of them don't. A lot of them have problems that they just might not be as open about, and that's something that's real. Not everybody has the perfect image that they portray of themselves online. The other thing is that the quarter life crisis is usually trying to tell you something. It's literally your body and your brain telling you something. The path you're on doesn't quite fit right now. Try again. Change something up. It's a sign that you're ready to grow, and it's real. The quarter life crisis is not a life sentence. It's just basically a checkpoint and a reset button that forces you to stop coasting and actually think about where you're headed. Sometimes people just go through life. They don't really think about what they're doing. They don't move with intention. And the quarter life crisis is telling you need to stop and think and evaluate your life at a high level. And sometimes that's exactly what you need. So now let's talk about how to fix a quarter life crisis. And if I was a true expert on this, I'd be a multi-billionaire, but I'm not. So I can only give you what's helped me. A quarter life crisis isn't something that you solve in one weekend, but there are practical ways to move through all that and turn all that uncertainty into fuel. Here's how. I think number one is you have to think of your ideal plan at a high level. So the first step is zoom out. Forget the noise, forget what everyone else is doing, and ask yourself, what would my life look like if it was actually exciting to me? What's worth me waking up in the morning? What kind of work am I doing that doesn't make me dread waking up on Monday? Who's also around me when I feel the happiest? And what do I want to do in my day-to-day life? These are all questions you have to ask yourself. And most people never pause long enough to answer these questions, so they just default into the lives built on other people's expectations and they coast through life. Your quarter life crisis is forcing you to do the opposite and to finally take ownership of the vision and take control back. Step two would be, once you see that kind of high-level vision, don't get overwhelmed by the gap between here and there. I'd said you have to reverse engineer your life. So if your dream is to run your own business, the first step is just freelancing for 1 hour per week or getting one client. If you imagine yourself fit and confident, the first step is just going for a walk every morning, going to the gym a few times a week. You have to map out your ideal goal into daily and weekly things. Big goals almost seem impossible to finish when you're staring at the final product, but when you break it down into the next logical step, they become doable, and you don't need a whole staircase to get to that next stair. Step three is we always need to be in motion. Here's the trap of the quarter life crisis. You think you need to have clarity and know where you're going before you act. But the truth is, clarity usually comes because you acted. Motion creates answers. I remember when I was in my quarter life crisis, I was very aggressive with just making sure I was busy and always doing things. So the answer to this is try things out. Say yes to opportunities. Apply to jobs you're not sure about and go take that trip. Start that project. Some doors are going to close, but each one that closes teaches you something about what you want and what you don't want. Even if you don't know exactly where you're going, just getting moving will start revealing the map to you and gain you some clarity. And then finally, step four, and maybe the biggest overlooked one in solving your quarter life crisis, is make sure you're doing the basics. These are the unsexy things, the foundation, the sleep, the nutrition, exercise, community. You'd be shocked at how often a quarter life crisis happens just because of burnout and because you're neglecting these things. You're exhausted, you're overstimulated, you're disconnected. So of course, everything's going to feel meaningless. Before you assume your life is broken, you got to fix your fundamentals. You might find that your mind clears once your body and your routines are in order and you're just in tuned with your existence. The quarter life crisis does not mean you failed. It's just simply a signal that your body needs to listen to. It's your wake-up call to stop living life on autopilot and start living life with intention. If you use these moments right, it's truly not the end of your direction. It's actually the beginning of something special. So if you're in the middle of a quarter life crisis right now, just know this: you're not behind. You're just midway through the process. Everyone's highlight reel seems to skip over the messy middle conveniently, but the messy middle is where the real growth happens, and sometimes being lost is the exact step you need to find yourself. Thanks for listening to Why Learn Wednesday and hanging out with me, and remember, your quarter life crisis might be the best thing that ever happened to you. We'll catch you in the next one.